Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Steady Focused. I'm your host, I'm your number one, Mr. Simeon Hendrix, and we got my man, Mr. Don Ward of Third Creative. He's here. He has been, I guess he's been on my side, encouraging me and just, and inspiring me since day one with Steady Focused and before that. But guys, we are set up in the Ryder High School gymnasium. And you're like, man, why are you guys here? Just stay tuned, you're gonna find out. Don Ward, I mean, he's a master photographer. He's a master Photoshop wizard. And what this guy does inside of the computer and with the camera, it blows my mind. And he's next level. And I've been keeping my eye on this dude for a long time. I love what you do, Don. So let's just jump straight into it, guys. Please help me give a huge, steady, focused welcome to my friend, Mr. Don Ward.
Thank you, man.
Yes.
I just trying to wrap my head around the fact that somebody actually wants to interview me still. So,
Man, and let me say that's one of the things that is attractive. You know, not in like I want to be your lover, but just like an attractive way is that you are so humble, dude. And it's like when I first ran across your team photography that I was seeing, I was like, is this coming out of Wichita Falls? Who's doing this? And I had to find out who you are, hunt you down, you know, and then it's incredible, man. So let's just start right there. What got you into the camera?
Well, that's kind of a long story. I could probably shorten it up. Going back probably, man, into my teens, I've always been the guy with the camera. But for the most part, it was just I wanted to save memories or document, so I'd take snapshots, always with a camera. I had kids, and those kids got a little bit older, and they started to play sports. So I think this is a common story for a lot of people. When their kids start playing sports, I would take my little point-and-shoot camera, and I'd get out there, and I would try to, you know, catch some good action shots, and I would just look at it, and I just wasn't – you know, I wasn't happy with it. And then I look over and I see, you know, somebody from the other team, and they've got this DSLR with a long lens, and I'm just looking at it, and I'm like, man, I need to get one of those. But I have no idea how to use a camera. I'm used to just turning it on and looking for the little running man, the little sport mode. So I just started looking, and I thought I could get in kind of cheap. Well, not cheap. I thought I was spending a lot of money to maybe drop $400 on a camera, and I quickly learned, like, okay, that's still pretty low end. So I kind of took a plunge, and my wife kind of thought that I was crazy because I went and spent like $1,100 on a body, and I spent like another.
What did you jump in on? What was your first camera?
A Nikon D7000, and I tried to do a lot of research, but really when I did my research, I was kind of drawn to somebody that you've actually interviewed before. A lot of people know of Jared Polin, and he was huge Nikon. And, you know, it's too many choices. So I just said, okay, Jared shoots Nikon. He seems to know what he's talking about. I looked at Nikons, and I found a crop sensor body that I could afford that was still really a stretch for me at the time, and I just took that plunge, and I had no idea how to use it. My wife was a little upset with me, but I just told her, I said, I think that I can probably get good at taking action shots, and maybe I could, you know, make a little money doing that, and, you know, help pay for the expense.
So what year was this? Roundabout? Like how long ago when you first
2012 probably?
2012. Okay, so you're basically 6 years in, 5 years in, you know, at this point now, right? We're 2012, we're 2018
yeah,
now?
it may be 2011, late 2011, somewhere in there, but yeah.
So at first you thought it was going to be all action shots. And then how did you find out that you were in love with the studio?
Well, that came much later. Let's see, the speed version. I have the camera. I'm doing tons of research. and lots of practice. I figured that out. I'm like, okay, I can watch videos all day, and it does help, but I've got to get out there and I've got to practice. And I've got the hang of it, started getting good at action shots. And one year we had team photos for my daughter's soccer team, and when we got them, we were just all kind of like, man, how much did we just spend on these? So Coach, actually, he knew I had the camera, and Coach Daniel Arredondo, shout out, rest in peace, good man. He said, Don, do you think that you could do our team photos? And I was just like, I mean, I'm sure I could take our picture. And so I didn't want to say no, and I was a little intimidated because I didn't want to shoot something and give it to all the parents, and I was afraid that maybe they wouldn't like it. But I went ahead and did it, and I ended up trying to figure out, okay, well, what can I do to give it something extra? You know, we all get that snapshot, take a knee in the field, hold the ball. You know, that's great, but that's just what we're used to. It's boring. So what can I do? And it just so happens I had a laptop with Photoshop Elements pre-installed, so I got into that. And so fast forward, after getting into team photography and team and individual, I decided I wanted to try to maybe take it to the next step. And so I did my own DIY lighting, and that's something you actually made a video about for video. I did the same thing for photography. It was a poor man's setup, but it worked. I actually got shop lights and bulbs, and I made homemade soft boxes, and people kind of looked at me like I was crazy when they came for their pictures, but it worked. And eventually, you know, I decided, okay, I need to take that next step into strobes, and I did that. And once I did that, wow, things just took off.
I want to rewind a couple. You hit several amazing things that you just talked about. One of them, the importance of we can all get caught up in consuming so much education, right. But you had a good point. It's about putting it into work and practicing and practicing and practicing. So I love that you said that. And then I love that you talk about just put it together. You know, like, you're a poor man, use your creativity and practice and go for it. So talk about, you know, the clients when they came in and they saw your poor man setup. What did they laugh at you? You know, like, what was kind of like the worst? And you're like, oh, come on, just trust me.
Well, yeah, there was a few times. Okay, so I wanted to make this happen no matter what. I made up my mind. I'm jumping in. I don't have a studio. I would shoot outdoors, but the elements are so unpredictable. The heat, the wind, the sun. And I really, you know, wasn't a master of natural light and scheduling, trying to get out there at the right time. It was just tricky. So I decided that I'm going to shoot indoors, and I did some research on YouTube. I'm like, okay, DIY lighting, because I really didn't have money, you know, to go out and buy expensive speed lights or strobes. I really didn't even know about strobes or much about them at the time. And so I found some videos, and I went to Home Depot and I put these things together. And so when people would come to the house, I would invite them to my house. I would set up in the living room, I'd clear out the couches, and you would just kind of, you could feel a vibe. You could see the looks on their face. And there was a few comments. There was one young lady who turned and looked to her mom, and she's like, "Mom, where are we?
Oh my gosh.
What is this?"
Yes. And you're just like, did that fuel you? Like, were you like, okay, I see where you're at, you know?
Well, it fueled my anxiety at the moment, because I'm like, okay, they already think that, you know, I'm, you know, don't know what I'm doing, or you know, it's not going to be quality in the end. But that's actually the best part of the story, because there was a little bit of a transition, but maybe I can show you sometimes. It's not, you know, knock your socks off lighting or photography, but what I feel like what I did with those DIY Home Depot lights was pretty dang good. And in fact, they were just, you know, beyond happy with it. And you know, they would share it on social media, they would show other parents, and it just snowballed. I kept getting more and more calls and more business, and to the point where I couldn't take it all. So eventually I was in a position where I'm like, okay, this is really working out. I need to up my game. And that's when I started looking into strobes and soft boxes, reflectors, everything that I need there.
Let me talk about, and you may say, hey, I don't want to get too much into the finances, but I'm curious from a business point of view, once you did see you were getting so full that you couldn't keep up, did you raise your prices significantly?
I did.
Okay, which I think you should. I
Yeah.
mean, because you only got so much time, and it's supply and demand,
Well, and that's a good point, because when I started out, I had a few people that they saw what I did for my own daughter's teams, and they wanted me to do theirs. But when I finally decided, like, okay, I want to do this and make money at it rather than just doing favors, I really had to solicit, and people that I didn't really have much of a body of work. I was still learning, and so I went dirt cheap, and I got business, and it was good practice. And I wouldn't even want to tell you what my hourly wage averaged out to be, because it was pretty bad, but it gave me that opportunity to get the experience, to practice, and I spent a lot of effort on it and didn't really get compensated for it. But in the grand scheme, the big picture, that was huge for me, to be able to get that experience, and it's just led me in the right direction.
So I'm telling you guys, you got to check out Don's portfolio. thirdcreative.com, is that what it is? Third Creative?
Well, thirdcreative.com was taken. That was a little bitter. So it's thirdcreative.net. And
okay,
it's
thirdcreative.net.
The number 3 rather than spelled out.
Okay, thirdcreative.net. I'm telling you guys, check this out. It's amazing, and have that pulled up while you're watching this episode. So you see what we're talking about, the quality of what this man is putting out. I love the story, dude. I almost want to say rags to riches, because like you're putting in the work, you're killing it, you're starving, you're making cents an hour, like literally like cents, because you put so much time. But then the story keeps going, and not only are you doing amazing client work, but then something clicked in your head and said, hey, there's other people that want my Photoshop templates, right? So talk about that, because I freaking love that you're selling products, dude.
Yeah, that's really the craziest part of the whole story. I kept sharing my work on social media. Obviously, that's a strategy. Get your work out there, get it seen. And there's a guy who's local. His name is Victor Zamora, and he saw my work, and he reached out to me because he's a photographer, and he's done a lot of sports stuff. He's done a lot of stuff in Hollywood, and he reached out to me, and we started talking. And in conversation, he said, I really think that you should start a website and sell your Photoshop files. And I kind of thought about it, and I was like, man, that's crazy. Like, I don't even know how to build a website first, and who's going to want to buy, these little Photoshop files that I'm making as backgrounds. So I kind of just brushed it off, and that was a pretty big mistake, because eventually, as my following started to grow on Facebook, it wasn't just local parents and local customers. Other photographers who do sports, either senior sports or volume, they started to find me somehow. I have no idea. But they eventually started reaching out to me and asking, hey, I really like this. Is there any way I can buy your Photoshop file? And I'm just like, wow, that's crazy. Let's do this. Yeah, of course you can. But, I had to figure all that out. How do I get them the file? Okay, I can figure that out. How do they get me the money? And it became more and more frequent. And eventually I said, you know what, let's take this plunge and let's build a website and let's put it out there. And if it bombs, it bombs. And if it doesn't, then it doesn't.
So the website launched. You guys were on vacation, right? You're out somewhere. You're hanging out with your wife. You got a great wife. You got a great family. I'm telling you guys, I love this family. They're like my hero family. I love these guys. So you're out and you're like, man, I launched the website. We'll see. And what ends up happening?
Okay, so I tell my wife. I know I'm a little long-winded. There's just a lot.
Great,
there's a lot to this story that I want to share, because it really makes me feel good inside.
Bring it.
How it all unfolded.
Bring it.
So we have 4 daughters. Shout out to my girls, and I have my wife. She's wonderful. But my wife was working full time as a teacher's aide at a school. We have our 4 daughters. They're all involved in sports and all these activities, and things were just getting like stressful. Like, you know, I have a day job actually that we haven't talked about, so I'm gone a lot for that. And it just got to the point where she was missing out on a lot of opportunities to be there for the girls, and it was starting to weigh on her, and that was starting to weigh on me. And at a point where she had decided to go to the lake with some of her friends because she just needed to, you know, unwind. There was a lot of stress at the moment. I sent her a text and I said, I think I know how to, you know, get us out of this situation, let you come home and be here for our girls. And I said, I'm going to start a website. And she's like, really? And I'm like, yes, I've done some research. You know, I can do it for, you know, maybe get started for $300-400, and I just think it's worth that risk. And so I take about a month trying to figure out, I have no idea. So I figure it out, I get it up there. It's not the best at first, still maybe not the best, but I put it out there, and it launched 2 days before we went on vacation. And I don't want to get sidetracked again, but there's another part of this. Facebook.
You're great, dude. You're doing awesome.
So Facebook is one of the most valuable assets to me in my business. And I say that because I found these forums or groups. I'm sure almost everybody's familiar with them, but there are Facebook groups for literally anything and everything, special interests, you know, different careers. So I found and joined as many photography groups, sports related, sports specific, even down to team and individual, which is pretty much what I'm doing, and started sharing my work there. Well, when I launched that website, I put it out on these groups, and I dumped a good amount of sample images of my work, and I said, hey guys, this is what I do. I just started a website. If you guys are interested in my designs and you think that, you know, they'll help you, go check out my website. And so we leave, now back to answering your question, we leave for this vacation, and, you know, to be honest with you, we had a limited amount of funds. It was going to be a budget vacation. So we went down to San Antonio, and we went to the Frio River where her sister was getting a wedding vow renewal. And so we're there, and, you know, we're just eating cheap, and my phone gets a little beep, and I look at it. I'm like, hey, look at that. We just made $30. A couple hours later, I get another beep. Hey, look at that. There's some more money. And then about 3 days into it, my phone, like, I had to put it on silent. It just kept beeping and kept beeping and kept beeping, and that feeling is like, wow. And it's not, obviously making money is great, but the idea that, like, wow, these people like what I'm doing, and they want what I'm doing, and they're willing to pay for it. And it was such a great feeling. And 3 days into it, we're down on the Riverwalk. We're eating steak. I'm paying for mariachi singers and the trumpets and the guitars, and they're serenading us and kind of just making it rain a little bit, living in the moment. And ever since then, it's just been wild. It's great.
And so your wife was able to quit her day job?
Yes. So I told her just do it. And, you know, we were about a few months in. I'm like, look, it's going good. I'm making up your income and then some. Let's just do it. It'll work out. And it has more than worked out. And it's just a huge blessing and a tremendous feeling.
I can feel that feeling, dude. I'm literally like want to cry right now. I feel that, dude, because like I got, you know, I've got a woman at home, you know, that I love and I care a lot about, and I can totally understand the feeling of, you know, wanting her to be at the house with the kids while, as the man, we go and make the money. But of course, the woman, you know, our wives or our loved one is still fulfilled. I'm not trying to say caveman and she can't live a fulfilled life, but I just love it, dude. Like you followed your heart. You had the passion.
Yes.
You took a leap of faith, and you went for it. I love that story. I freaking love that, dude.
I love it too. Now, you know, part of me is like, oh, when I tell people what's going on, I don't want to come across as like, hey, look at me, look at what I'm doing. But it's such a good feeling, and it's something that I'm really proud of. So when I have an opportunity to, you know, to share it with somebody, you know, it does feel good.
It's great. Like, we can all learn from that. And it's just so often we want to just say, hey, I want the end result. I want to get to the point of where I'm making money and my phone's dinging, but I don't want to go through people maybe laughing at me when they come over to my house and take photographs. I don't want to deal with, you know, having to learn. I don't want to deal with making nothing.
Right.
You know, so often people just want to fast forward to the end, and I just want to fast forward to San Antonio having my wife serenaded. Well, guys, to get to that point, there was 5 years of some intense hardship that you had to walk through.
Absolutely.
So just know that, guys. I mean, we want it. There is no freaking like fast forward. Everybody out there who is attaining greatness has walked through failure like crazy. And you got an awesome story. Don, let's talk about music, dude. Something else that we both have in common, Deftones, right?
Absolutely.
I don't even know how we figured out that we were both into that vibe
Social
of heavy
media.
music. Okay,
Social media. I remember when I realized that you were the singer for Downstairs, which one of the biggest regrets of my life, maybe a little exaggeration, but I really do regret missing out on the Downstairs era, because that was a time in my life where, you know, we had all these young kids and I'm just trying to hustle, keep the bills paid. Going out and watching bands or going to a bar or anything like that just really didn't happen. But yeah, I think you posted Deftones tickets for sale, and I'm like, wait a minute.
Right. That's right.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm a huge Deftones fan. I've seen them probably 10 times, going back to like 98. And you know, I love music in general.
Are you still doing heavy right now, or do you like kind of more mellow? Or I've been into a lot of like real indie type. Don't get me wrong, I've got a super heavy playlist, and then I've got like some really mellow indie rock stuff too.
So I've always been into heavy music, and when I was younger, like heavy was it. I wasn't interested in anything else. But my musical tastes have definitely evolved. As I get older, I never would have thought that I would listen to even country music, but I actually bought a Willie Nelson record today.
Yeah.
At Alley Cats. I love that place. But yeah, I listen to all sorts of music. You know, very chill music. I'm a huge Uncle Lucius fan, which if you asked me 10 years ago and played Uncle Lucius for me, I'd say, I'm good, but I don't know, something about him. So yeah, it's heavy for sure. Always, I'll always appreciate, you know, the loud, heavy music. I love a good rock show, but I can enjoy something chill too.
What's been one of is as specific as you can be, one of your most, you know, successful moments, like of your life? As maybe it was the cha-ching ching ching of your phone going off, you know, but what's been the highlight, greatest moment?
Well, I mean, having the success that I've had in the last year with the website and selling templates is definitely, it ranks up there. It's just a good feeling of achievement, hard work paying off, you know, putting in dues, which I felt that I did, and never had a clear vision or that goal. It just kind of just worked out. But I mean, if we're asking the greatest, you know, accomplishment of my life, it's got to be my girls and
Amen.
my wife. And I know
go.
that might be, you know, number one answer survey says, but it just is what it is. That's definitely my greatest success. They're just, every parent brags on their kids, but those who know me and know my girls know that I'm not exaggerating. They're pretty awesome.
What's been one of your most difficult lessons to learn?
Difficult lessons to learn. So if we're talking, you know, related to photography and my business, taking on too much. I struggle with that.
Hit me, dude. I'm in on this.
Yeah, I have a lot of schools approach me, a lot of teams approach me, and seeing that I'm not doing this full time, at least not yet, I really have to be careful not to take on too much, because that's, I can get in a little over my head sometimes. But I just want, when I'm presented an opportunity, I really want to take it. And so sometimes I let my mouth speak before my brain thinks, and then I'm like, oh, what did I just do? Okay. And it's something that my wife likes to remind me of and stresses about too. And I'm like, I've got this, I'll figure it out, I'll get it done. Mm-hmm. So maybe sacrifice a little sleep. But yeah, that's probably one of the biggest obstacles that I have is just knowing like how much I can handle, and not being too eager.
How's the dynamic between you and her as like business related? You guys were partners in life for a long time before you became, like, I guess, business partners. Was that hard for you to just like trust her when she would kind of override you, or like you say, she's like, hey, you bit off too much on this one, Don?
Well, I think we need those checks and balances. I think having her be more involved is definitely a blessing, because although I might have a lot going on for me creatively, organizationally, maybe not so much. I'm not the most organized person, so that's where she's been able to step in and really get things organized, maybe too organized if there is such a thing. But it's been good, and there's obviously there's going to be moments where we might butt heads, and I'm like, calm down, I've got this. But if I'm being honest, her kind of reminding me of certain things and keeping me on top of things has definitely helped.
Who's one of your biggest inspirations?
Biggest inspirations?
And this could be like a photographer, maybe it's a Photoshop person, maybe it's just a self-help person that you like to listen to,
Biggest inspirations? Well, there's a lot of them, so listing one is pretty tough. I've got to say I'm a huge Joel Grimes fan. I don't know if you know Joel Grimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's amazing. He's an amazing teacher. He's an amazing photographer. He's amazing in Photoshop, and he puts out a lot of content, and it's just, it comes to me easily. So I really try to consume as much Joel Grimes material as I can, and I might even call that like goals. What he's doing is really impressive, and something that I dig. Other inspirations, there's a guy, I'll go ahead and name drop him.
Yeah, hit him.
There's a guy who does basically what I do. He's a photographer for schools. His name is Josh Hanna, and to me, he's like the pinnacle. He's like the dude. His work is phenomenal, and we don't know each other personally, but we've grown to know each other through social media. Obviously, we're members of some of these same groups, so we see each other's work and we compliment each other, and we've had some conversations. But every time he puts something out, I'm just like, wow, man, that is just phenomenal. So anybody that's interested, check out Josh Hanna Photography. His stuff is legit, and he provides some inspiration, some goals. Try to get to that level for sure.
And so what do you say to somebody who's inspired by what you're doing, but they doubt themselves tremendously, or they're lazy, and they want to be where you're at because they think where you're at is awesome, or they want to be where this other guy is on the internet, or this other woman. They want to do it, but they say, well, I can't because I don't have the right equipment. I wasn't born in the right place. I'm too young. I'm too old. I'm fat. I'm ugly, and they've got all these excuses. Like, what do you say to someone like that?
Well, just like a lot of things in life, everything doesn't just come to you easily. You have to put in the work. I don't think that I have any prophetic, wisdom to share. It's pretty simple, and it's something that you talk about a lot. You have to do it. You just have to do it. Do you want it? Do it. And if you're not doing it, then maybe you don't really want it as bad as maybe you think you want it. But I think just getting over the hurdles and accepting your failures and learning from your failures, and I know this probably sounds familiar because you talk about it all the time, and I'm just like, yes, you're on point. So when you fall, you get up and you just keep going. And honestly, if I shared some of my early work with you, it's pretty humorous, and I look back on it, I'm just like, wow. But you have to start somewhere, and you keep practicing, be a sponge, you keep absorbing, reach out to anybody and anything that you can. Like, I can't even count how many YouTube hours. If YouTube logs my hours, I don't even know. Wow, that would blow my mind. And then, of course, people. Like, I've reached out to people locally. I've reached out to you. I've reached out to photographers when I needed to know, like, okay, I don't know anything about strobes. What do I do? So I contacted this guy in Idaho, Jason Duco, who's amazing, and he helped me. And I'm just like, wow, I can't believe you took time, to talk to me on the phone and give me advice. So I took his advice and I bought the strobes that he suggested, and it's worked out. So I guess getting long-winded again, but to answer your question, it's just how bad do you want it? And you can't be afraid to fail. And as far as gear is concerned, obviously better gear, is nice to have, but it does not mean that you can't produce something awesome if you have basic gear. I like to think I had basic gear, when I started. It's an entry-level camera, and I had a 35 millimeter 1.8 lens, which was about $200. So maybe for some that's a good chunk, but if you can get there, like I was doing a lot with a very little, and over time I was able to accumulate the gear that I have, and I still don't have anywhere close to what I would like to have.
Yeah, it can get it's like,
yes,
what do you want to spend? Like, we can run up $100,000 bill today in the store if you want to. Like, it'll run, man. Equipment will get expensive.
Absolutely.
Crazy expensive.
I say it's an expensive hobby. It's become more than a hobby, but yeah, I mean, if you're getting into it for a hobby, then you better have a good day job.
There you go, man. That's just that stretch that you just went through, Don. That is like, to me, it's like, that's why I do Steady Focused. Like, I mean, this whole thing has been incredible, but I mean, it's a reminding to me, like, why do I do this? Why do I go through all this? But it's for that right there. It's because that inspires the shit out of me. Like, hearing your story, and I know you say you hear it from me, but like, to hear it from you, like, that's real, and I know that, I hope people are getting vibes out of this and they can hear your sincerity, and I love it, dude. I love what you've said there, man. Yeah, I mean, Don, that's kind of what I got. Let me look at my thing. I mean, we've talked about that. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I got, Don. I'm just going to open the floor up to you. Anything else you want to say, final thoughts, or, whatever?
Well, I think I've told you before, but I'm just a huge fan. So to be sitting here, it's kind of blowing my mind, like, wow, not only does somebody want to interview me, but it's my number one. It's Simeon, and I get to be a part of this beautiful thing that you've created, Steady Focused. I try to put it out there to as many people because I want them, to get out of it what I'm getting out of it. And I don't know, I just have a lot of respect for you. When I see you on social media, it's like you're on a mission, and your passion is just out of this world, and you just do it, and you're not necessarily, maybe you are afraid of failing or what people might think, but when I see you just go live singing a cappella in your car, I'm like, I love that. I envy that, because I don't think I don't think I have the balls to do that, but I don't know, it's just one of the many things that makes Simeon great. So that's pretty much it. I just want to thank you for thinking of me and wanting me to be a part of what you're doing. It really means a lot to me.
If people want to find you online and look at your portfolio, where do they go?
Well, I've got the website, thirdcreative.net, and I try to put my work up there. That's where you'll see my templates. You'll see I've got a lot of tutorial videos for my templates, and I'm trying to put some tutorial videos up for some techniques that would be helpful for people that just don't come prepackaged in a template. Facebook is probably where I'm most active. I need to push myself to do more on Instagram and Twitter and Snapchat.
There's a million of them, dude. You can keep going.
I only have so much time in the day, and I have found that most of the people that, you know, my customers are probably in an age range or, you know, in a demographic that uses Facebook, and it, you know, so that's probably where it is. So Third Creative at Facebook, I put some stuff up there, and then I have an Instagram, which is also Third Creative.
There we go. So guys, I'm telling you, Don is the man. You pick me up, dude. I mean, and there are plenty of times where maybe it looks like, oh, Simeon's so confident, but man, I'm battling demons, you know, and that's, you know, and I'm just trying to stay out of my way and like close my mind to that part of me and just open the channel, because like I say, it's coming from somewhere greater than me. And I just got to keep the tunnel open and let that come out instead of overthinking and shutting myself down and overthinking. Like, just let it be, Simeon. Just go for it. Open the floodgate and just let it go. So anyway, guys, Don, I love him. I love you. Third Creative.
You, buddy.
Check him out. So guys, there it is. It's been a great episode. We're inside Ryder High School Gymnasium. This is definitely one for the books.
Shout out to Sage and Karis Ward, my Lady Raiders. Go Rojo. And,
yes. Yeah, this is great.
Squeeze that in there.
Yeah, yeah. So, and Don travels all over the country, right, with your girls, and they're doing volleyball. I mean, all summer long you guys were Colorado, like all kinds of different places. A lot of Facebook Live with that.
Got a lot going on.
So, guys, until next time, I'm your host. I'm your number one, Mr. Simeon Hendrix. And this is Steady Focused.
I love it.
All right. Well, that's it, dude.